So I'm just gonna tell you how I got my US visa. I know it's been many years, but maybe one or two people can feel inspired. So for me personally, um, sometimes I can tell you things happen when you least expect them. For me, by the time I got the visa, I was least expecting it. And the reason is this actually. So after I completed college, I was just thinking of, I had, nurses are going to the United States, UK, and all that. So my heart was leaning towards UK because, as we all know at home, we are more familiar with the UK system. So I never thought of that. But during college, I had been when I was in university, I got exposed to American teachers and all that. So I had that interest in the United States. And then I got exposed to doing the TOEFL exam. And then I went to USIU, I did the TOEFL exam. So those things kind of worked all together. But, to cut the long story short, I got in touch with these people who are in Nairobi Hospital. I had friends working in Nairobi Hospital and others working in Aga Khan Hospital. So we came in touch with this guy who had come to Nairobi, and he said he works with an agent here in the United States, and they are trying to bring nurses. And I remember just giving him my resume. We were in a cyber cafe, and I gave him the resume, and I forgot about it. And then, so one day we received information saying that we need to come up with, I think it was like $200, and maybe less. And so some of my friends were like, no, 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 these agents in America, everything is free, don't pay anything. But for me, I was so determined. So I just say, you know what, for me, I'm just going to look for that money. And actually, when I sent that money, later on, I realized it was going to register me for state exams called the NCLEX in the United States. So I'm glad I did it. But I forgot about it again. Then one day I had one of the guys from Nairobi Hospital coming, Janet, have you gotten your envelope? I'm like, which envelope? And then he's like, the sponsor from the United States has brought envelopes for us 9 people, and he has found for us schools. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure about it. So I made arrangements. I went to Nairobi Hospital to one of my friends, and then I got my brown envelope. And for sure in there was an I-20. And the I-20 was for English as a second language. So I was thinking, okay, what am I going to tell the embassy? And it's true. You never know that you can't speak English until you come to the United States. There's a lot to learn. I don't care whether you've gone to university, master's. You can benefit from sentence construction, accent reduction, which I wish I did. There are so many other things you can do. Okay, so that is the course I got, an I-20. And luckily, the sponsor had written a letter to support us. Okay, so it was the 9 of us. But so that, I was the last person to get the envelope. So the rest of the people had already called the embassy. Those days, we never used to book online. You'd call the embassy and book the appointment. So for me, I was the last person to call the embassy. And so we were supposed to report in school in August. And all my friends had gotten appointments for June and July, and then they go to school in August. For me, I got a date 1 month after school starts. So school was starting in August, and I got an appointment for September. So I was so discouraged. So when I was talking to my friends, they're like, oh, Janet, I'm sorry. I wish you got these appointment letters early and all that. So I don't remember if they had left a number. My suspicion is those documents had the embassy number. And I remember just going to make a phone call. So I called the embassy and I explained myself. I said, okay, my name is so-and-so. I have an admission to go to the United States, and my admission date is in August, and I've gotten an embassy appointment in September. Is there a way I can get an early appointment? To my surprise, they gave me an earlier date, which was early the first week of August. So I didn't believe it. I remember, the conversation, and I'm like, are you sure you've gotten my passport number? They're like, yeah, we've gotten your passport number. You just have that doubt. So anyway, I continued going to Aga Khan Hospital and working. I'm not minding, when this will happen, blah, blah. I don't remember getting prepared for the embassy, but knowing what I know now, when you're good, but there's some things you really need to know. So the day came for the embassy. I woke up early. I went. I remember my appointment, I think, was at 8 or 8:30, I remember. And then I was at the embassy maybe by around 7:30. I was there. I was ready. So my time came. And I had a good conversation, and the guy asked me, "How do you know you'll come back?" I said, I'm a nurse here, I'm working here. He's like, "You look familiar." I said, "Yeah, you look familiar too." So he told me he went for surgery in Aga Khan Hospital. I said, "Maybe that's where I saw you." So the conversation was very nice. He told me, "Come back at 2 o'clock, your visa is approved." Those days they used to tell us, same day you'd get the visa. So anyway, I went out. My sister was there waiting for me. We went and ate nyama choma. At 2 o'clock, I came and picked my visa. Okay, so this is what I can tell you if you want to come to America based on my experience. And looking back, I feel like I should have had some sort of training or coaching or read about the embassy, what the law says. Number one, I didn't know what the law says. So if you don't know what the law says at that embassy, the temporary visa law is it assumes that anyone coming to the United States on a temporary visa has the intent of coming and never going back. I had no idea. But looking back, they asked me, how do we know you'll come back? And I said, you know what? I'm a nurse here in Aga Khan. You can see from my resume, I plan to go very quickly for this short course and come. So I'm so lucky that that's what I said, and it was the truth. But looking back, if I didn't know that, I would have said, I've known there are so many good opportunities in America. I can go and then stick there. I don't think I'll come back. So you see how you can innocently miss that visa. Another thing, looking back, that was a very strong thing for me at that point. My passport was very dusty, and by dusty I mean when I was in University Coral, so we had gone to Uganda several times, and also I used to have friends in Tanzania, so I had gone to Arusha several times and back, and then I had gone to Dar es Salaam several times and back. So sometimes, this travel history is very important, especially if you've been to Europe. Your chances of getting a US visa are almost guaranteed. They are not guaranteed, but the chances are up there. But me, I had only gone to African countries. But looking back, it showed some level of, maybe those days the applications were not that competitive. But me looking at that, it was not just an issue of me going to the border, getting a stamp and coming back to lie that I have a travel history. You can clearly tell from the passport that those trips were spread out. So clearly I was a travel, I had shown some travel history within the last 2 to 3 years. And all those trips were separate. And you could tell when I was in Arusha, maybe I had spent a week or two. And then when I went to